Good morning. You're listening to WXOX 97.1 FM in Louisville, Kentucky, or streaming on artxfm.com. This is LVA's Artebella on the radio, produced by Louisville Visual Art, and I'm your host, Keith White. We're here today to talk to, I shouldn't say this, one of my favorite artists in Louisville. Shouldn't do that, I guess, but still, all in all. And I think there's a lot of people that would say one of their favorites, one of a group of favorites, Shayne Hull. Shayne Hull is a Louisville-based painter and sculptor. He has a Master of Fine Arts degree from the Maryland Institute College of Art, a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Texas A&M University, and a Master of Arts and a teaching degree from the University of Louisville. So he is an artist. I know him primarily as a painter, but he also does a lot of three-dimensional work. There's so many things we could talk about. And you are a teacher. Welcome, Shayne.
Thank you. Good to be here, Keith.
And you teach you teach at Trinity, correct?
Trinity High School, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah. How long have you taught there?
7 years now.
Okay, good.
I think I have 5 more to go, according to my wife, and then then I get to retire and maybe paint full time. So,
well, but always mad respect to teachers. Not an easy gig,
especially this year.
Yeah, well,
especially this.
Well, the last few years for various reasons too, but yeah, it's I've talked to teachers about their experiences pivoting during the pandemic, and I don't want to get into that now because I'd like us to concentrate on moving forward. But yeah, it's but I will say, both teachers and artists are people that are built for adaptability. Mm-hmm. The creativity and ingenuity required for either of those roles, I think, fortunately, served all of you well, I think, during the pandemic.
We've had to be creative, yes.
Yeah. But let's talk about you. So you're here in this moment. We chose to have this interview because you have work up at 1512 Portland Avenue, which is the building. It's the home of Rocker Built, which is a business, but they also have gallery space and different things. And you have a show there of work called Tools, which is up through May 31st. So I want to talk about that work, and I want to ask you first. So how would you describe that body of work that people are going to see? Because we're not in the gallery and showing people the work right now. So how would you describe this group of work?
Well, a quick description is, they're self-portraits. They have tools in them. Tools is kind of the co-star of the show for the imagery. I think that they originally started out being, I call them fetish paintings. That's not the right word. There's not a sexual connotation to this, but I was really enjoying on the first couple, focusing in on the details of the tools. That was really fun for me to get the highlights and the threading on some of the tools and the texture of the metals and stuff. And it was really exciting to do that. And my face was kind of secondary in the beginning because I've painted a million faces before. So that my focus was really on the tools. And then through time, I'm not positive on this, but I have a feeling that something subconscious came out where they are more about me and aging, which has been a big thing on my mind lately. I had a milestone birthday of 60 this past November. And I've been thinking about aging a lot and how I'm kind of getting older and not as agile as I used to be, and grayer and saggier skin. And somehow the tools in this, the co-actors in these pieces, became something that I had to deal with in the imagery. I realized after I did a few, there's like, I'm uncomfortable in my poses, something about my expression and the way I'm positioned with these tools, I'm uncomfortable. And it might be a stretch, but I was thinking that they might even be a metaphor for things that I might be facing as I get older, obstacles, in the way of living and being healthy and advancing into old age, things I have to deal with, things I have to accept. So I think it might be a mixture of paintings about where I am right now in life, mixed with the fact that I have a pretty cool tool set, and it was a kick to paint them. I always liked the painting process, so that was a fun part too. So, but somehow when the imagery came together, I thought this time there might be something a little more to it. As you know, in the past, I've painted, and I've never made any bones about it. I'm proud of the fact that I paint pictures because I think they're funny and fun. Sometimes some people find them disturbing. I've always found them funny.
Mm-hmm.
But I painted them just for the kick of painting an image. And with this series, and actually the one before it, when I did a series of political portraits, maybe I might be having something more to say with depth about life in general as I'm getting older. I don't know. There's still funny faces, I think, but
Sure.
there might be a little more context to them.
Well, and you've done self-portraits with different kinds of objects or accoutrement. You've wrapped your head in tape. There's things with barbed wire, which I hope you didn't actually wrap that barbed wire.
I did.
Oh my gosh.
And all the tools in this series, those were posed. I had my daughter help me with some of the photographs, but
Okay, so you actually did the barbed wire. Okay, but it does seem to be, there's always an element, even though they're often, like you say, they're funny, but they're also very sometimes they're kind of lacerating. I think this series strikes me, because I've been to the gallery and seen them, as they're not quite as disturbing, but the viewer starts to ask themselves, what is the relationship to these tools? And as we well know, art is never complete until the viewer comes to it and brings that last level of interpretation. So it's interesting to think what different people are going to see when they look at it. But I think I think my response was very close to what you're talking about. So I think you're communicating what you want here, um, mortality and sort of the quality of our bodies and how vulnerable we are to things now. So
go ahead.
well, I was just going to ask, like, so I was going to ask if you had to buy any of these tools, but so these were all just things that were this right there ready to go for
Yes,
you.
I will have to say the very first one in this series was a boy and his axe, and that's one where I'm kind of posing lovingly with this axe.
Yeah.
And I had borrowed that axe from a friend of mine who's actually at the show that night, and I didn't get it back to him quite in time. And he wrote me back that he needed the axe, and so I sent this picture and I go, oh, I love this axe so much. That's all it was. And after I took the picture and sent it to him, I thought, I kind of like that pose, actually. I think I'm gonna paint that, and I painted it. And then I believe it was he or another friend said, you should do one with like a chainsaw or something. So I have a chainsaw, so I do it with a chainsaw, and then that's kind of when it materialized and came about. So that was kind of the impetus of getting it started, and then everything else kind of took on a life of its own. And for what it's worth, I have I want to do 18 to 20 of these altogether. I have 10 now, so I've still got other other poses and tools and layouts that I want to cover. Maybe I'll get more hurt in each one. I don't know. So far, I haven't been hurt in any of them. The clamp was kind of sore, and it was kind of hard holding those chisels in my mouth for any length of time. But maybe I'll kill myself in the last one. Just chop my head off or something. I don't know.
Oh, please, not that.
That could be funny.
Need a bigger axe. But of course, that's the beauty of art. You can do anything. It doesn't have to be real. You can
go full circle to the axe in the end. Yeah.
Right. That would make sense. But a big axe, like a big. So Tools 2 or Tools Redux
There
is
you
in the future.
go.
Um, so you go through periods, so you'll work through this series, but then maybe do you think you would continue to do self-portraiture, or would that be a time to maybe pivot into maybe a different direction for a while?
I'm not sure. This is the first sustained self-portrait series I've done. I've done scattered self-portraits before. This is the first one where I have done it, you know, only me. Uh, I'm I'm actually, and this is interesting, but well, you know my work. I paint pretty much head up, and I've been doing that for 25 or 30 years. And just the slightest bit of my hand starts to appear in some of these pictures. My shoulder starts to appear. That's actually really branching out for me as far as what's in the viewfinder right there. Um, I think that's leading into, and I'm not sure about this, but I'm kind of leaning into going more figurative and getting more of the body in there and see where that takes me. I still want to concentrate on the face. That's kind of my thing. That's where all the personality in life is. But I have a feeling I'm going to start including more of the human form. So I'm kind of looking into trying to find some exhibitions I could go to or something that are really focusing on figurative art and get inspired and maybe go in a slightly different direction. It still might be me. I don't know. I've always said I'm a cheap model and I'm always available. So I honestly I think that's probably why a lot of artists have done self portraits throughout history. Is they're right there. They could post the way they want, and I could get my setup the way I want to do it. So
Well, and it can, of course, it always risks seeming maybe narcissistic or self-obsessed. And I think that's one of the things about your approach is, although they're very, realistic or naturalistic representational portraits of yourself, but the introduction of the other elements always kind of punctures that balloon of self-obsession, that you're taking some sort of critical perspective or seeking insight about yourself in the process of these paintings,
mhm.
that keeps it from I think reaching that level. But I was just in somebody else's studio who and happened to look up and saw three portraits that they had lined up. One was from when they were in art school, and one was, I don't know, within the last 10 years. It's recognizably sort of a more recent time. And then one in the middle was almost not like them, and was a very strange kind of emotional thing. But it was interesting that they had this lined up in their studio. So there is a way in which, just how many people have photo albums or whatever tracking their history and their family and whatever. Self-portraiture through time can be, it's another way of sort of recording your history.
Yeah, it is kind of a self documentation in a way. It really is. Um, and you mentioned something about the sometimes there can be a perceived maybe a vanity to I'm going to paint myself. My wife jokes with me about that quite a bit. She goes, "There's a lot of you in this, a lot of your face." But uh, I think I deflated that a bit by I'm trying to be pretty honest about capturing what I look like right
Mhm.
now. And my vanity takes me back 30 years ago when I was younger. Well, yeah, not a bad looking guy. And then I look at myself and I go, oh my God, there's the sagging skin and the liver spots and the skin under the eyes. And uh, I thought I think the best way for me to deal with getting older is just to show it and just try to show it in its honesty. Now, I will say I took a little bit of liberty in these portraits with my hair color. I went a little bit darker because I thought it worked more aesthetically than the gray, too much white. So, So there, okay, I did. The vanity creeped in there. I colored my hair in these pictures.
I don't think it's really that big a difference, though. I was going to say I think that in general, I mean, you don't, we talk about how you're the self-examination and you're being self-critical a little bit here or whatever, but really you look pretty good in these things. You look pretty distinguished. You've got a nice goatee and the way the hair is cut and
Oh,
everything.
I tried to make sure my beard wasn't all scruffled. And I work from photos, so I'm kind of doing my own self photo shoot with my camera, selfies and stuff. Trying to make sure like my beard shaped okay, and not everything's too far out of order. So even then, even though I'm trying to capture myself in this honesty, you're still considering camera angles and lighting and stuff.
Sure.
So it never goes away, I guess.
Well, but there's no reason why you have to have a terrible photograph of yourself
Sure,
to
yeah.
work from. You want a good, if you're going to make reference material, why shouldn't you make quality reference material?
That's
I mean,
right.
if you were photographing somebody else, you would bring those same concerns to bear on that.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
I think that's entirely fair. That's just my opinion. Um, so have you ever worked with I know you've done some members of your family. Have you ever done like models? When you talk about moving into more figurative work, have you done much with bringing in like an outsider or somebody that's
I
not
have not. I
so
have
close
not.
to you?
Maybe that will be what happens when I get more figurative. I'm not sure. Of course, I painted other people, and it's usually for commission work. But I do have a few non-family members. My best buddy Michael, his face makes it into my paintings sometimes, and I'll call on other people periodically to use their face. But yeah, actually for hiring a model, I'll probably still end up using my family because they're free.
Well, or
They're willing.
you're friends with a great many artists. I'm sure that other people would consider it flattering for you to and ask them to do something.
You know Patrick Smith.
Yes.
Patrick, the Lexington. He's got, I think, a show at Mormons now. I think he works exclusively with models. Like I think he puts out feelers and says, "Do you want to do a project and work together?" And then work up photo shoots and then work on the best piece. I don't know if he pays them or not. I'm not sure, or if they do it from being flattered from being a subject. But yeah, that's something I wouldn't mind going into, especially if I get more figurative, because I don't want to be drawing my figure in a series of self-portraits. So that won't happen, I don't believe.
Well, I want to touch just for a minute on the more politically themed stuff, which you're not doing right now. But I can remember, and I know you had been working as an artist and showing as an artist long before this, but I had been living away from Louisville for many years, and the first painting of yours that I think I ever saw was a very large portrait of Karl Rove. And so I think that was when during the Bush administration. So that was back
like 2005 or so.
Yeah,
it seems like. Yeah,
exactly. I think I saw it in 5 or 6 or something like that, 2005 or 6. And then of course at LVA a 3 years ago, you had a whole series of people in the Trump family, and Hillary was there. And I'm trying to remember if there wasn't another Democrat, but it was the what pulls you in that direction? It seems like the politically themed stuff happens every once in a while.
You just froze on me, Keith. Are you here? Can you hear me? You back?
Yeah,
Did you know you cut out, or
well, yeah, you froze as I asked that
I froze?
question.
Okay, and you froze too. I'm not sure what happened there. Okay,
So we're still recording, and I'll deal with this. I'll deal with this interruption.
sure.
So
Well, you're asking about the political things.
yeah, like what motivates you to get into that kind of subject matter?
Well, that's interesting because I have, for the most of my life, been pretty apolitical.
Mhm.
I didn't vote until I was in my 30s. No, kind of embarrassing to say, but it just, I wasn't a political person. You know, I think the times were a little bit different earlier. The world wasn't so crazy. Honestly, I think, well, Rove being an exception, I painted him just because he was a corpulent, kind of freakish face, and that was fun to paint. I don't know that that one had really that much political context for me, other than he just had this giant head that I had to. I painted him a couple of times actually, but to be perfectly honest, when Obama came around, I became political or interested in what's going on in a good way. And then when Trump came along, I became even more invested, of course, in a bad way. So know where I stand on that. And I guess that's just my way of if I could skewer them somehow through me, I'm not gonna have any rallies or anything where I'm going to share my thoughts. This is how I share my thoughts, is through these portraits. So it's kind of a skewering to distort and exaggerate and show in a bad light, maybe a comical light, if I can, the people that I think are not doing good things in the world.
Well, but also I can't help but feel like you talk about Karl Rove just had a face and a head that sort of caught your attention, and Donald Trump did too. I mean, there's nobody else that looks like that. It's a very,
I never
whatever.
could paint his hair. I ended up doing his hair very cartoony because I didn't have the skill set to paint that hair. I can't tell what's happening with it. It's like cotton candy. It's really hard to paint. So yeah, I kind of stylized his hair a little bit.
Well, his hair is stylized. I mean, I think again, and I don't think we've said anything that that anybody could disagree with. Because I mean, because that's, Richard Nixon was so popular for the cartoonists because he had such very specific features that was very fun to work with.
Yeah, that crazy long nose and
then
the jowls.
somebody handsome like John Kennedy, right? Kind of boring to
right. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what do you have to work with?
It's hard to get that in a caricature. Yeah.
So right now, we're not going to see any political stuff anytime soon, I guess. You're out of that mode.
I'm okay right now. I'm not really okay.
Well, I don't mean as a reflection of whatever is going on in current politics. It does seem like Washington got a lot less, let's say, not interesting, but we were preoccupied on a daily basis with it now, and it just seems sort of.
It's true. I was watching news more than I ever watched it before, and I don't know why. Maybe I just kept every day hoping something would be different, and it never was. But now it seems like it's and if it's boring, then I like boring.
Right.
This is a good thing. It's a real good.
Well, you know what I mean. It's that there's reason and not overreaction, and it just seems like it's gotten back to something more level.
Mm-hmm. And
so.
I haven't written off doing anything, any form of commentary on what's going on. If something really moves me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend, Wayne Ferguson, who's a ceramic sculptor, and he's kind of like You know, I've known for a long time. I follow him on Instagram too. He's kind of like a clay artist CNN, because he
Yeah.
does new work like daily, and it's all, not all, but most of his news based and current events based, and it's always a skewering, and there's always a sense of humor to it. But I think that's kind of fun because I mean, his art really, he reacts kind of on a daily basis to what's going on with the
Well,
news.
he's a political cartoonist. He's an editorial cartoonist, but he just also, because he does do drawings too,
Yes.
but he's just also choosing to exercise that expression in clay, which is interesting. You know?
Yeah, his little sculptures of McConnell are fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen any of his stuff lately, so but I'm sure he's still doing it. I can't believe he would ever stop
No, yeah.
doing that. So, but Senator McConnell is his favorite subject. Yes. So, but listen. So Shayne Hull, we're about out of time, but I just want to say thank you for joining me today, and I'll just say it again. Over at 1512 Portland Avenue in their gallery. It's right behind the coffee shop, so it's not hard to find. Good place to stop in. Is your show called Tools, which is 10 paintings that people can go view through May 31st there in that space. It's open a lot. It's open a lot, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's right across the street from us at LVA. So I feel like they're always open. I don't know their hours, but anyway. So, but that's where the work is if you want to check it out, and get your look at the first Tools exhibit, knowing that there will be another Tools
There
exhibit.
will be another, yeah, or an
Yeah.
extension.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Shayne.
Thanks. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Keith.